Shouldn't take too long, and then after pizza, I think we'll do. Damien's going to do. Doesn't look too complicated. He's going to do a demo on the. What is it? The performance tester?
Yeah.
Cool. And Oliver's going to give a demo on the stub demo. Who's talking? Sorry. Is it recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh, cool. Right, so first one up is the M5 Stack M5 Stick V, which is really hard to say a few times fast. M5 Stack make a bunch of these little doohickeys which have displays on them. This one's pretty unique. It's got the new RISC-V Kendrite K210 beastie of a processor. That's a dual core 400 meg, which can be overclocked to 800 meg. It's also got a bit of machine learning support on it, which means there's some accelerated math stuff on it. It's got 8 meg of RAM and 16 meg of flash. Pretty decent display, pretty decent camera. Accelerometer, a gyroscope, battery, microphone, speaker with an amplifier, plus the amplifier, micro SD. And this thing costs under $30 US. It's pretty amazing. We've already got a variant of MicroPython running on it. The M5 Stack folks have partnered with Cyped, who do they were the first ones to come to market with a breadboard happy RISC-V processor, which I've got here if you want to have a look at it. All sorts of interesting demos coming out with this thing. It's really powerful little unit. It can do face detection and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I think it's really interesting. And it's the first non-ESP32 that M5 Stack released, I think. It's nice. That's not bad. Let's go to the next slide. Or not, whatever. Speaking of ESP32, Sion actually got some of the earlier variants of the S2, which we talked about last month, which I think I got the specs here. This is just straight from last month's notes. This is the single core ESP32 with more GPIO. It's got USB, but it doesn't have Bluetooth. So there's a few pros and cons compared to the current ESP32. But if you're interested, if I can figure out which way these rolls. Okay. If you're interested, Sion's got 2 videos, like a first look at it, and then a whole bunch of people had questions about it, which he tried to go and chase up. So yeah, those videos are worth a look. Pretty cool stuff. He's not here tonight, he hurt his neck. Yeah, sorry.
Building boards.
Probably hunched over building tiny figures, yeah.
Sorry, SD-RAM
this is pretty cool. These have been out for a little while. In fact, we first talked about them in October last year. This little processor here is called the W600. And the reason it's interesting is because it's also got Wi-Fi, much like the ESP32, but it's an ARM-based system. It's a Cortex M3. It's only 80 megahertz, but still pretty decent. And they finally got around to releasing MicroPython on it, which they committed to. I haven't found the code for it yet. I can only find binaries, but I'm sure that's coming soon. But they're pretty amazing because they're like $1, these chips. They're really cheap. So yeah. There's also a guide that some guy, Ultra Techie, I don't know his real name, but Ultra Techie's written a guide on getting started and how to deploy the binary and get moving on it. Because there's a few little quirks about it. Yeah, it's interesting. The Random Nerd Tutorials. So there's a website called Random Nerd Tutorials. It's run by this husband and wife team called Rui and Sarah Santos. Seem like nice people. Anyway, they're building up a whole bunch of tutorials for Arduino and for MicroPython. There's about 20 of them there on MicroPython. Really good place to start if you're a beginner. They talk about doing just basic connection, how to make a serial connection. Talking about the BME 280, Alex, I know you were asking about that before. They've got a tutorial on how to connect to it and get information out of it. And there's a whole bunch of other tutorials. So go have a look there if you're looking for a place to get started and do some sort of really nice basic sort of stuff. Really well written tutorials. We've had the Tomu. We've had, for those that don't know, the Tomu's a little microcontroller on a little tiny little thing, which is designed to sit inside your USB port. So it's got a couple of little touch pads and a couple of little LEDs on it. Pretty awesome little thing. Pretty cute. And then the FOMU is about to hit people's hands, I guess. So it's been released from Crowd Supply. The FOMU's the same form factor, but with an FPGA on it, lattice FPGA on it. The SOMU is another one that's coming from, it's the Crowd Supply release, which is, it's like a YubiKey in a similar form factor. And I think his name's Alex, the guy who does all those femto beacons. has just published this on Twitter like yesterday. He's tried to squeeze an ESP32 into the same form factor. So a little Wi-Fi enabled microcontroller, which is pretty crazy. It all fits, it's all legitimate design. He's not sure if it'll actually work yet. There's some really, really small wires in particular. They passed the RC, so yeah.
Where's the antenna?
The antenna's a little chip antenna in this corner here. So it's not like it'd be great range, because it's still half inside your computer. But still, it's an interesting little experiment. Don't know if we'll ever see it, but it was too cool not to show. David Haynes, I'd never heard of, but he's put together a really interesting sort of demo on how to. It's actually really interesting. He's got like. Didn't expect the audio. Yeah, I've got to compete with him. I'll just skip it forward a bit. He's got like a bunch of megapixels.
Reduce it to fit
You can mute it on
on
the
that
YouTube
display.
link there. Press
Sure.
M or something.
Yeah, I can just turn it down. If this is bloody. So you can see he's got like a website which is actually being served from an ESP32, I think. And you can take an animated GIF, and he's or GIF if you want to be more precise. And he's got a couple of LED strips, neopixel strips connected to his microcontroller here. And so you can actually take a snippet of an animated GIF and then light it up in the pattern on those strips. So I thought that was really cool. He's got like the web server's all running on the micro. It's all self-contained. It was a really good example. He's built it on top of Micro Web Server, which is a standalone web server by Jean-Christophe, which I think we've covered once before. I meant to if I haven't. But it's a neat little web server as well. So that was really, really nice. Thank you, David. Another example on Hackster.io about getting logo running on an M5 stack. It uses MQTT, so you need to set up a server, but then you just throw an MQTT string like this one here, and it will draw whatever you want. That was also cute, I thought. Good example. Another example on how to send data to Google Sheets. So you can set up a Google Sheet and then collect data from your temperature sensor or whatever, and then throw it at a Google Sheet and get it to store there. Pretty nice way of having like a sort of remote database. And I think that is all I had for you guys this week. Short and sweet.
If you just go back to that W600 thing.
Yeah, I saw your eyes.
So there's actually a pull request for this support for this in the main stream, so you can see the code there.
Cool, good.
But
I couldn't trace it down.
Yeah, it's like this W60X module. You can see here. You can look at it yourself, but I have given a bit of feedback. The point is that with 1 megabyte of flash, it's not really enough, because it has to have SSL support there, and also all the other Wi-Fi drivers. So it's not really big enough to hold. It doesn't have SSL support at the moment because 1 megabyte isn't enough for that. And they said that there's 2 megabyte flash coming out, which may be better.
Is that on chip or is it external?
That's internal, I think.
So what's that SOIC on the bottom right corner?
Good question. But I'm pretty sure it's internal.
Internal,
otherwise they could have fixed that.
It
right,
comes in a few boards too, so this is just one example. They've also got one that plugs in on USB. It's like in a USB sort of stick form. Seed sell a bunch of these things. They seem to be behind that chip. Yes, they're stocking it.
So I don't.
So if you're on Wi-Fi, it
also,
might be too small.
It also says the heap's very small. It's like 45K.
Okay.
So it's a little bit better than an H.266, but not much. So it depends really. I mean, I don't know. If there's good support for it, we can put it into the main MicroPython and try and support it. But if it's just going to come and go, and it's not going to be, have that enough RAM and ROM, then it's not really worth trying to support.
No, fair enough.
So it'd be good to see if it does see good interest or not.
This board's a little bit wacky. It's got a bunch of LEDs as well. You can play with just randomly. But they were cheap. I think that whole board was like $4 or $5. Sorry? That's pretty cheap. So. Yeah, the chip itself is about $50. Cool. Alright, if that's it, we'll wrap it up and then we'll get pizza.